Brain of Brains 2018, the General Knowledge Contest of Champions, chaired by Russell Davis.
Why, thank you. Hello, and a warm welcome to you and to our audience here at the Radio Theatre in London who've joined us for a very special General Knowledge Contest. In a couple of weeks' time, our 2018 Brain of Britain season will get underway, but we start this year with two special programmes pitting former Brain of Britain champions against one another. Today we meet again the winners of the three most recent series, along with the top-scoring runner-up in a final, to decide who's going to be named the BBC Brain of Brains. And the winner today will go through to what must surely be the ultimate Champion of Champions contest, which we can hold only every 9 years, and which we call Top Brain. Let's meet again our formidable Brain of Brains competitors for 2018.
Hello, I'm John BEYNON. I'm a gardener from Northwich in Cheshire.
Hello, I'm Brian Chesney. I'm a retired librarian from Malvern in Worcestershire.
Hi, I'm Mike Clark. I'm a voluntary worker from the city of Brechin in Angus.
Hello, I'm NIGEL JONES, a retired computer programmer from Bath.
And welcome back to all four of you. The rules are the same as for every Brain of Britain contest you've competed in over the years. I'll ask you questions worth a point each until you've got 5 right in a row, in which case you get an additional point. Or until you get one wrong or can't answer, in which case it's opened up to the others. I'll invite John BEYNON, the incumbent Brain of Britain champion, to take the first question. Which player in a game of baseball shares the name of their position with a type of earthenware jug?
Pitcher?
Yes, no ewers in baseball. In a collection of writings published in 2016, which writer remarked that he had acquired a reputation for being, I quote, kindly, cosy, and essentially harmless. I am in the pigeonhole marked no threat, and did I stab Judi Dench with a pitchfork, I should still be a teddy bear.
Alan Bennett?
Yes, taken from Keeping On, Keeping On. Quite a challenge not to read that in a Yorkshire accent. Father of the House is the title given to the male member of Parliament with the longest continuous service who is not a minister. But until recently there has not been an equivalent title for female MPs. However, in 2017, who became the first Mother of the House?
Diane Abbott?
It wasn't, no. Mike Clark?
Margaret Beckett?
Afraid not. No. No more guesses? No, it was Harriet Harman, Labour MP for Camberwell and Peckham. I must say I hadn't noticed that myself either. Brian Chesney, we come to you. At which cathedral did Mark Carney, the Governor of the Bank of England, officially launch the new £10 note in July 2017?
Winchester?
Yes, because Jane Austen, who appears on the new note, is buried in the cathedral. An astronomical unit is defined as the average distance between the Earth and what?
The Sun?
Yes, it would be. What is the actual first name of the former leader of the Liberal Democrats, popularly known as Paddy Ashdown?
Patrick?
No. No guesses coming? Yes, Mike Clark.
Jeremy?
Is that a guess? It's right.
Oh, right.
Jeremy is right, yes. In full. He is Jeremy John Durham Ashdown. Born in New Delhi, his family moved to Northern Ireland when he was 4 years old. He acquired the nickname Paddy because of his Irish accent at that time. Mike Clark, the former middleweight boxing champion known as the Bronx Bull, died at the age of 95 in 2017. Who was he?
Jake LaMotta?
Jake LaMotta, famously portrayed by Robert De Niro in the Martin Scorsese film Raging Bull, yes. What is believed to be the earliest contemporary painted portrait of an English king is thought to have been by either André Beauneveu or Gilbert Prince, and is to be found in Westminster Abbey. Which king does it depict?
Richard II?
Correct answer, yes. In computing, additive manufacturing, also known as direct digital manufacturing, is another term for what?
Robotics?
No. Afraid not. Okay, it's 3D printing, of all things. Nigel Jones, we come to you. Derived from a Latin word for melting, What adjective is applied to a substance which dissolves by absorbing moisture from the atmosphere?
Deliquescent.
Yes. Chemistry lessons of long ago, that is, isn't it? The City of London Police are the reigning Olympic champions in which sport discontinued in the Games after 1920?
Tug of war.
Yes, you're right. Which British cheese gets its name from a backward spelling of the surname of the couple who originally made it in the early 1980s, basing it on a much older recipe?
Yarg.
Yarg. Grey backwards. It hails from Cornwall and is traditionally wrapped in nettle leaves. The story of Oedipus, the tragic hero who killed his father and married his mother, is well known and over the centuries has provided inspiration for many dramatists. The name Oedipus is derived from the Greek meaning what? I have to throw it open to Mike Clark, specifically.
Poisoned foot?
No.
Something foot.
John Beynon.
Swollen foot.
Swollen-footed, yes, I have to be, in this particular contest, I have to be strict. It's swollen-footed. And this is the end of round one. These scores are rather remarkable. Brian Chesney has 2. Everyone else has 3. Well done. As we come back again to John Beynon, an easterly is the most disagreeable wind in Lyme Bay, are the opening words of which 20th century novel?
French Lieutenant Woman.
By John Fowles, yes. Pulsars are now recognized as rapidly rotating varieties of which class of stars thought to be the leftovers following the deaths of massive stars in supernova explosions?
Neutron stars.
They are neutron stars indeed. By what name is the mountain known in French as Mont Cervin and in Italian as Monte Cervino more commonly identified?
Matterhorn.
The Matterhorn, yes. If you take them in the traditional order, which is the first book of the Old Testament that is named after a person?
Amos.
No. Brian Chesney.
Joshua?
Joshua is the right answer, yes. And it's your question. Bees, wasps, and ants belong to which order of insects?
Hymenoptera?
Yes, hymen in ancient Greek means membrane, and they have membranous wings. That's one of the explanations, anyway. In 1893, the United States Mint issued their first commemorative coin featuring a woman. Who was depicted on that coin?
Pocahontas?
No. John Beynon?
Susan B. Anthony.
No, afraid not. Any more? Yes, Mike Clark?
Sacagawea?
No. Nigel Jones?
Betsy Ross.
No, all too American these. It was Isabella I of Spain, of all things. That $2 coin was issued in conjunction with the 1893 Columbian Exposition, and Isabella sponsored Columbus's travels to the New World. That's the explanation for that. Mike Clark, the sea goddess Sedna holds a very important place in the mythology and popular traditions of which group of people?
What we'd call Eskimos, Inuits.
Inuits is right. Yes, I would have accepted Eskimo. She's thought of as the goddess of the sea and sea mammals. What did the P stand for in the name of the English historian A.J.P. Taylor?
Peregrine.
No. Brian Chesney?
Percival?
Percival, yes, and he spelt it Percival, but yes, Percival it was. Alan John Percival Taylor. Now, Nigel Jones, a place called Monkswell Manor forms the background to which play first performed in 1952?
The Mousetrap.
Yes, by Agatha Christie. I think the last milestone in its still endless history was its 25,000th performance, and that was more than 5 years ago. Which musicians' rare forays into writing music for the big screen include the 1966 film The Family Way, starring John Mills, Hayley Mills, and Howell Bennett?
Gershwin.
No. Brian Chesney.
Paul McCartney?
Sir Paul McCartney is the right answer, with a little help from Sir George Martin, but that's good enough for me. End of a round again. Here are the scores. Mike Clark and Nigel Jones, 4 each. John Beynon and Brian Chesney, 6 each. John Bain, we return to you again, and music accompanies your next question as we hear a popular aria from an opera performed for the first time almost 100 years ago. You have to name the opera.
Oh, mio bambino caro, mi piace bello, bello, andare in porta rossa a confirar l'anello. Sì, sì, ci voglio andare, e si da casa.
Gianni Schicchi.
Gianni Schicchi by Puccini, premiered at New York's Metropolitan Opera on December the 14th, 1918. O mio bambino caro was sung by Victoria de Los Angeles. Now, on quite another track, what is the minimum age for a horse to be allowed to race in the Aintree Grand National?
7.
Yes, it was raised from 6 in 2011. In the 1750s, Louis XV of France purchased which building in Paris, known then as the Hôtel d'Evreux, for his mistress, Madame de Pompadour?
Hôtel des Invalides.
No. Yes, Brian Chesney.
Palais de Luxembourg?
Not that either, no. Any more tries? Yes, Nigel Jones.
Tuileries.
Not the Tuileries, no. Mike Clark having a go. Few buildings left.
Le Petit Trianon.
No, it's the Élysée Palace, the Palais de l'Élysée, now the official residence of the French president. Brian Chesney, which ship arrived in New York on the 18th of April 1912, carrying over 700 survivors from the RMS Titanic?
Carpathia?
The RMS Carpathia, yes. She herself was sunk when torpedoed 6 years later. What type of cake is said to have been named to celebrate the 1884 marriage of Princess Victoria of Hesse, a granddaughter of Queen Victoria?
Battenberg?
Yep. In 2007, who became the UK's first female Home Secretary?
Jackie Smith?
Yes, it was, for almost 2 years, 2007 to 9. What is the boiling point of water on the Réaumur scale?
80.
80 degrees, oddly, yes. The maximum number of letters permitted in the name of a British racehorse is, including the spaces between words, 18. How many are permitted in greyhound racing?
20.
No. Yes, John Baynard.
12.
No. Any more guesses? Worth a go. Mike Clark
16.
is right.
Is it?
Well, interestingly, Mick the Miller, famous during the interwar years, was only one letter under the limit. Mike Clark, your question then. The French filmmaker Luc Besson is primarily regarded as the director of action films such as The Fifth Element and Nikita. But in 2011, he made a political biopic called The Lady, in which Michelle Yeoh played a prominent Nobel Peace Prize laureate and campaigner. Who?
Aung San Suu Kyi.
Yes, the now highly controversial political leader of Myanmar. Painted Lady, Pips Cornish Cream, and Sir Henry Cecil are three varieties of which popular garden flower?
Rose.
Not a rose, no. Yes, Nigel Jones.
Lily.
No. Yes, John Baynard.
Iris.
No. Brian Chesney, have a go? No. Sweet peas. Yes, they are. Nigel Jones, a question for you then. Billie Holiday died a few months after the jazz musician who bestowed on her the nickname of Lady Day. Who was he?
Duke Ellington.
No, it wasn't the Duke. Mike Clark.
Lester Young.
Lester Young, yes. They both died in 1959. He was 49, she was 44. End of another round. Here are the scores again. Nigel Jones has 4, Mike Clark 7, John Baynard 8, Brian Chesney 10. And that interesting juncture. You'll know that if you're a regular listener to Brain of Britain, that at roughly the halfway point in the contest, we take a brief break from the tense rivalry and encourage our brains to work together as a quiz team. I've a pair of questions here selected from the very many excellent suggestions we've been sent since last year's series, aimed at beating the brains. They're the work of Alistair Coe in Stockton-on-Tees, who'll win a modest prize if the four of you in collaboration can't deal adequately with both of his questions. Mr. Coe's suggestions both ask you for connections, but that aside, the questions are not themselves connected in any way, unless we're missing something. Maybe you'll get an extra point if you can find a linking theme between them. The first is this. What's the connection between Deptford and Salterton? And the clue is, don't be thinking too geographically about this.
Deptford. Death of Christopher Marlowe. What else happened in Deptford? Bedley Salterton.
Salterton sounds like a hymn. Tune.
If they could be hymn tunes. Yeah.
Hymn tune, you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, could well be.
I'm just guessing.
It's good to guess as any.
It's good guess as any, yes, yes.
I might be going with that. I've never heard anything else, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah. That's right.
We'll try hymn tunes.
The names of hymn tunes. That's a very ingenious suggestion. And prolonged research might prove it to be true, but it's not the answer I have here, I'm afraid. No, Deptford and Salterton both give their names to trilogies of novels by Robertson Davies.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
A Canadian writer, of course, and both titles relate to fictional towns in Canada, not the British places. Another of his trilogies is called the Cornish Trilogy, but that's because the principal character is called Francis Cornish. I interviewed Robertson Davies in Toronto once, and I remember him saying, "Could you stand an anecdote?" And that was the only reason I was there. I said, yes. Nice old chap with a big white beard. Question 2, then. What connects the galaxy, the comet, and the laissez-faire?
Train, rail,
Isn't that some of the first...
railway engines,
the rail
steam
trials. The
railway
steam
engines.
trials.
Yes.
Rail
Rain Hill
trials,
trials. I reckon so.
Were they submissions for the first rail trials? Names of the engines?
So they're locomotives?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm very sorry, but they're not. Your transport is right, you're in the right area, but they were the names of 3 ships on which offshore radio stations were based in the 1960s. Respectively, Radio London, Radio Scotland, and Britain Radio. Radio London's based the MV Galaxy, I'm sure, is the best known of the 3. I should mention that the laissez-faire was also known as the MV Olga Patricia, in case there are any pilot radio buffs out there willing to pounce. So well done, Alistair Coe. You've managed to outwit even these mighty brains of brains. Thank you for your entertaining suggestions. We'll be sending you a book token prize in very short order. And of course, you do earn this very well-connected round of applause. All right, back to the contest then, and the next round begins with you again, John BEYNON. Who said in 1956, "For the past few weeks I have really felt as if the Suez Canal was flowing through my drawing room"?
Mrs. Eden.
I need a name and or title.
No, sorry.
Can't remember. Okay. Pass it on to Brian Chesney.
I think he was Clarissa Eden.
Lady Clarissa Eden is right, the Countess of Avon, wife of Anthony Eden. I'm very sorry to turn you down there, John, but had to, I'm afraid. Brian Chesney, music. Bob Hope and Bing Crosby, not forgetting Dorothy Lamour, appeared in 7 road films between 1940 and 1962. Here's a song from one of them, and you have to tell me which.
When 2 guys pull together, it's teamwork. In foul or sunny weather, it's teamwork. What does it take to make any business climb? You'll find it takes teamwork every time. Incidentally, your jokes will kill the yoke, 'cause it's teamwork. I love your hope.
Road to Singapore.
No. Mike Clark.
Road to Utopia?
Not that one either, no. Yes, John BEYNON.
Road to Bali.
No. Nigel Jones.
Road to Hong Kong.
Yes, you're right. The last in the series, the song Teamwork was written by Sammy Kahn and Jimmy Van Heusen. Miss Lamour made just a cameo appearance in that film, I think. Joan Collins was the star. Now, Mike Clark. The Ladybird Books Keywords Reading Scheme, first published in 1964, helped more than one generation of children to learn to read, and famously featured brother and sister characters Peter and Jane. What was the appropriate name of Peter and Jane's dog?
Oh, God. Ladybird?
No. Anybody think of any appropriate names? Nigel Jones.
Nip.
No. Could have been, but it wasn't. Nobody's going to go. No. I'm afraid the dog's name was Pat. Pat the dog. Commonly referred to as the Peter and Jane books, of course. 2015, when that came round, the Keywords Reading Scheme had reached the milestone of 100 million copies sold. Nigel Jones, your question. Which fruit was known by the Romans as malum praecocum, meaning the apple that ripens early?
Quince.
No. Yes, John Boehner.
Pear?
No. Brian Chesney?
Peach.
No.
Oh, I was going to say that.
Have another go then, Michael.
Plum.
No, it was the apricot. Oh, sad. Right, end of a round. Here are the scores. Nigel Jones 5, Mike Clark 7, John Boehner 8, Brian Chesney 11. And fair warning, gentlemen, this has got to be the final round. John Boehner, what is the third largest island of New Zealand?
Stuart Island?
Yes, the third largest of anything is tricky, I think, but it was Stuart Island, whose autobiography published in 1988 was called That's Not All, Folks.
Mel Blanc?
Mel Blanc, a play on the words that regularly appeared at the end of the Looney Tunes cartoon films. He provided the voice of many familiar cartoon characters, including Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck. Newlands Test Match Cricket Ground is overlooked by which mountain?
Table Mountain?
In Cape Town, correct, yes. Which English poet is the central character in Tom Stoppard's 1997 play, The Invention of Love?
John Keats?
No, it wasn't Keats. Nigel Jones?
Byron.
No. Brian Chesney?
Shelley.
No. All the old favourites. Mike Clark?
Shakespeare.
No, it was A.E. Housman. Best remembered for A Shropshire Lad, of course. Brian Chesney, the Westminster Abbey memorial stone of the explorer David Livingstone is inscribed with these words: "All I can add in my solitude is may heaven's rich blessing come down on everyone, American, English or Turk, who will help to heal this open sore of the world." What was Livingstone alluding to with the words open sore?
Slavery.
It was, yes. Released in 1982 and 83, Kissing to be Clever and Colour by Numbers were the first two albums by which British pop group?
Thompson Twins.
No, Mike Clark.
Culture Club.
Featuring Boy George, yes, it was. And your music question, Mike Clark, features a song which was a #1 hit in 1983. In a version less often heard, I'd like you to tell me which group had the original hit and which other well-known group is performing it here.
Every breath you take, every move you make, every bond you break, every step you take, I'll be watching you. Every single day, every word you say, every game you play, every night you stay, I'll be watching you.
Well, it was originally The Police. That sounds very much like UB40.
The Police and UB40 is right. Well done. The song was written by Sting, who described it as a very sinister song. Now, Gateshead Hall, Thornfield Hall, and Ferndean Manor are three of the main locations in which classic novel?
Is that Wuthering Heights?
It's not. John Boehner.
Jane Eyre.
Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, 1847. Yes. Nigel Jones. E.M. Forster's 1924 novel, A Passage to India, is considered one of the great novels of the 20th century, selling 1 million copies by the time of his death in 1970. But Forster borrowed the title from a poem of the same name, written by which 19th century poet?
Tennyson?
No. Mike Clow?
Was it Alexander Pope?
It wasn't. Brian Chesney?
Shelley again.
You keep going with Shelley, but no, it wasn't. John Beynon? Yes.
Wordsworth.
No, it was Walt Whitman, of all people. He pinched it from America, yes. These have to be the final scores. And this is how they go. Nigel Jones has 5. Mike Clark has 9. Brian Chesney has 12. John Beynon has 12. Ooh. That means we have to have a tie-break question. Just for you two gentlemen, John Beynon and Brian Chesney, this question. What specifically is feared by those who have the condition glossophobia? John Beynon.
Speaking in public.
Public speaking is the right answer, yes. And so it is John Beynon who wins the prestigious BBC Radio 4 Brain of Brains title for 2018. Many, many congratulations to you. And I'd like to invite John to join me and collect his handsome and very well-deserved trophy. And a further treat awaits John, if treat it is, because next week he'll be back to compete against the previous 2 Brain of Brains champions from 2010 and 2014, Ian Bailey and Mark Grant, in our ultimately prestigious Top Brain contest. My thanks to all 4 of you, needless to say, for coming back one more time for a very keenly fought and fascinating contest. From us all here at the Radio Theatre, until next week, goodbye.